ACPD, sound check 1, sound check 1. May 13th, sound check 1. ACPD, May 13th, sound check 2, sound check 2. ACPD, sound check 3, sound check 3.
Hello, everybody. We're now live, but we are waiting for quorum. So hang tight. Thanks. Sure. At the ACPD meeting for May 13th. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Today is May 13th, the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities Committee meeting. Roll call. I will now commence a roll call. Please indicate your presence when I call your name. Hope Bonenfant.
Here.
Here. Benjamin Cullimore. Lance Dingman sends regrets. Kara Hernold.
Here.
Here. Levi Genosi.
Present.
Leif Johansson. You're muted, but I see you. I'll accept that. Parkin Carr. Not seeing. She'll be late. Okay. Paula Kilburn, she was here. Will hopefully come back again. Jake Maurice, present. Oh, there's Paula. Mark McNeil.
Here.
Thank you. Tim Murphy, not seeing. Kim Nolan. Tim Nolan. Okay, hopefully they'll come in a bit. Robert Westbrook. Oh, there's Kim and Tim. Hello, Kim and Tim. No Robert. And Councillor Taddison. Present but muted. Gotcha. Would the staff who are present please introduce themselves with their name and position?
Carrie McIntosh, Legislative Coordinator.
Thank you.
Tamara Bates, Legislative Coordinator.
Thank you.
Michelle Martin, Manager of Accessible Transportation Services.
Thank you.
Hi, James.
Transportation Services.
Thank you.
Are you in? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you, Kim.
Okay, thank you.
Project Manager, Accessible Transportation Services.
Thank you.
Sunil Langrish, Staff Liaison.
Thank you. And I believe that just leaves one more. Jessica.
I was going to say, is that me? So Jessica Bowen, Manager of Diversity and Inclusion.
Thank you. Are there any other staff present that I haven't called out? Seeing none, I will now call the meeting to order. As we have quorum present for today's meeting, I would like to call this meeting the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities to order. As well, a reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during committee meetings. 2, ceremonial activities. LC McIntosh will now read the Hamilton Land Acknowledgement.
The city of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon, One Pump Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Today, the city of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, North America, and we recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land so that we can better understand our roles as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers.
Thank you, LC McIntosh. Approval of agenda. May I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as presented?
Mark.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Levi. I see Levi's hand. Are there any amendments to the agenda? No. Okay. All those in favor, well, all those opposed to approving the agenda? I'm seeing none, so that's carried. Okay, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? If there were declarations of interest, those who have noted a disqualifying interest, please ensure that when it is time to vote on the matter that you vote abstain and your disqualifying interest will be noted correctly in the minutes. Those who have noted a non-disqualifying interest will participate impartially in the decision-making processes related to the matter. 5, approval of minutes to the previous meeting. April 8, 2025. May I please have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes as presented? Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Taddison, seconded by Kara. Thank you. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none. Are there any opposed to the minutes? Seeing none, that's carried. I do want to take a moment to thank Kara for her excellent work, vice chairing in the last couple of meetings. I meant to mention that at the end of last meeting, but I forgot, so I apologize. Thank you very much. 6, delegations. Before we begin our delegations for today, members are reminded that questions of the delegations are for clarification purposes only and not for debate. A note to our delegates, you have 5 minutes to complete your delegation. We will hear all of the delegations and then vote to receive. First up is Camilla Grulon, respecting the social media plan for the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities, Ability First Accessibility Fair. Camilla, you have 5 minutes. Please explain your plan.
Yes. Would you like me to share a PowerPoint or should I just talk through my?
Whichever makes you more comfortable.
Okay, I can share slides. Can you see that?
Ooh, very nice. Yes.
Okay, so this is my social media plan. The importance of this plan is to reach a wider audience, including persons with disabilities, raise awareness about ACPD's mission and events, connect with collaborators and stakeholders, and promote inclusion and accessibility in Hamilton. The platforms that I want to target are Instagram and Facebook. These are visual platforms, have a strong community engagement. The consistent engagement that we are planning would be Wednesday mornings, weekly uploads. The rationale for this would be that it's a manageable and consistent visibility. And we will plan to reevaluate the frequency based on engagement and resources, be it if we need more engagement throughout the week or less engagement throughout the week. What I plan to share in the social media posts would be the history of ACPD, who we are, what we do, who we serve, information on collaborators, updates on the fair and exhibitors, advertising the fair, accessibility information and language, and perspective of people with lived experience. The format will be infographics such as accessibility tips, ACPD achievements, event photos, informational reels showcasing accessibility improvements in Hamilton, as well as posts celebrating Disability Awareness Days such as Autism Awareness Day and other days. Keeping our community informed, we would post on registrations such as vendors, volunteers, awards. We will share stories relevant with content from local or accessibility accounts, as well as we will share event countdowns and promotional updates. With these accounts, we will ensure inclusive communications, such as having accessible content, use of alternative text for all images, have a high color contrast, remove barriers such as unreadable visuals, unclear text, have caption for videos and audio content, as well as have a clear and concise language. These are the social media platforms that we will be utilizing, which is the Instagram Hamilton ACPD and Facebook Ability First. And here is also the website for the ACPD. That is all. Any questions?
Well, thank you very much. Are there any questions for the delegate? Not seeing any. Oh, Kara.
Hi, thanks so much for your presentation. So if I'm a member of the public and I'm not following ACPD, how would I find out about this social media? Will there be links from Hamilton's main page?
This would be from the Hamilton ACPD website. We will have links to our social media. So people who already know the Accessibility Fair will be able to access our social media. And I would like to collaborate with also the Hamilton official website so that we can share the information that we are on social media as well.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, it would be interesting if the Hamilton main social media like reposted these posts to kind of expand the audience.
Yes, I would like for them to collaborate with us and share the information that we post on our social media as well as on the official Hamilton social media.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Kara. Any other questions for Camilla? I'm not seeing any.
Yeah, Tim has a question.
Oh, Tim.
Yeah, I'm just curious if the ACPD is a subcommittee of council, do we know why it is that the website for ACPD is not part of the city's website? Like, why is it separate?
That would be information that James could provide, but as my understanding is that we are a subcommittee of Hamilton and not an official one.
But as a subcommittee, we are official. We're a subcommittee of GIC. So, like, at least that's my understanding.
Okay, Tim, I'm going to step in. Camilla doesn't have this particular information. We are an outside organization, which is why we have an outside website, which gives us more control than if we'd have to go through the comms department. I believe that's why we have a third-party website.
Okay, well, I don't know if that's the, I mean, that's the answer, but I'm not sure that that's what we should be doing. But that said, I mean, if that's the case, then should we not be looking after our own social media? That's the difference between.
Okay, Tim, Camilla is our volunteer on one of our working groups, so we are looking after our social media. Camilla's just providing a presentation.
Okay. All right, I didn't realize Camilla was a volunteer of one of our working groups, so.
I apologize, that was my mistake. I should have introduced Camilla. Camilla has been on the Built Environment and Outreach working groups for the past few months. She also volunteered at the Accessibility Fair.
Okay, so I didn't realize that. Okay, fair enough. But I still think the whole question is worthy of exploration at some point in time. But so, thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Any other questions? I'm seeing none. I want to thank you very much, Camilla, for your delegation and your presentation you put together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can everybody please turn their cameras on if you're able to? I know that Hope you can't. Oh, sorry, members of the committee, can you please turn your cameras on? I should have specified.
Stay. Mute control plus and we're. Is mine not on?
You just turned on.
Oh, okay. Weird.
You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, we just had to double check quorum there. 6.2, Brad Evoy, Disability Justice Network of Ontario, respecting item 9.1, feasibility of the development of a new HSR fare program to assist disabled riders. Oh, Brad is not able to make it. Okay, so there will be no questions for this delegate. So then may I please have a mover and a seconder to receive delegation 6.1?
Yes.
Mark.
Paula, moved by Paula, seconded by Mark. Is there anybody opposed to receiving the delegation? Not seeing any. Then that's carried. Thank you very much again. And we'll move on to 7. Items for, pardon me.
Can
yes?
I ask a question?
Yes?
Why did that presentation have to be a delegation?
It's just as an outside person to present to the committee, it's a delegation. Because Camilla is not a member of the committee. She's a member of working groups.
Okay, thank you.
So items for information, 7.1, PW 23024C, Hamilton Street Railway, HSR fare policies. That's it, we're just receiving it for the moment?
Yes.
Okay, so is there any discussion on this fare assist report that came out in April?
There's no discussion. I don't understand how this.
Okay, I'm not seeing any discussion on this, and can I please have a mover and a seconder to receive the report from, well, no, I'd like to discuss it. Paula, can you take over for a second?
Yes, sir.
I delegated to this report because I didn't feel it was very complete. It was incomprehensive. It's supposed to give a report on a pilot in the first year, and the amount of information it gives is that some people like saving money. That doesn't at all explain how it impacts people with disabilities, people that were on the other two programs. How does it affect them differently? This report also contains some assumptions, like there's less people that are using the program. And when they investigated, some people said that they had a car, so that the HSR assumed everybody else must have a car then. So they all have alternative forms of transportation, whereas I know for a fact, a lot of people have stopped taking the bus. They're now walking to their destinations, whatever limited range they have. So assuming just because some numbers don't fill in, then they must have a vehicle and be taken care of is not adequate. It also refers to OW and ODSP paying for bus tickets and other social groups paying for bus tickets. As far as I understand, that's just to get them to and from OW or ODSP offices. That's not for them to go grocery shopping or whatnot with. So it's not really helpful to those that are still suffering from these issues. And so while I've delegated to this as an individual, the ACPD has not responded to, I guess, Public Works officially. And so this has come back before us so that we have a chance to do that. I have a motion to move so that we can actually file a letter or comment directly to, I guess, to HSR staff, it says, instead of PW, so HSR staff directly, which would then, I'm assuming, go to PW. So that is what I have to say on the subject. There's a lot that needs to be covered in this report, and we should respond.
Okay. Anybody have anything else to say? Or any
Paula, we'll
questions
need a
to James?
seconder to James's motion.
Oh. You have what is the motion though?
To respond to the report to HSR staff in detail.
Okay. So can I have a seconder for James's motion?
Mark.
Mark, thank you. All in favor? Or anybody against, I should say? Nope, seeing
Sorry,
none.
Paula was,
Yes.
Tim was trying to say, and I couldn't get the unmute.
Oh,
So-
sorry.
So no, so anyway, Tim, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, Tim.
I didn't
Sorry.
realize that this was the HSR report when this item was introduced.
Sorry.
So that said, can I actually backtrack on this motion and ask what we need to do to refer this item to the Transportation Working Group so that on behalf of ACBD, we can compose a more comprehensive review of the HSR report and then bring it back to ACPD for comment, or is there a timeline on our ability to respond?
I don't think there's any timeline. Carrie? Do we just do another motion to send it to TWG?
Yeah, you need a motion to refer it, but there's a motion on the floor already.
Yeah.
Do I need to
Right,
pull
so-
that?
I'll second.
hold on, Kim.
There's already a motion on the floor that you have to vote on before you put forth another motion.
So does James want to withdraw that motion? Can he withdraw that motion then?
Guess, yeah.
Only if you want to. They can vote on it.
No, it's okay. We'll go ahead with the vote then.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, can we vote on James's motion
Can you repeat it? Sorry, James.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
The mover and a seconder to direct the chair to provide written comment on behalf of ACPD to HSO staff.
No.
Can I suggest a friendly amendment to the motion, if James is willing?
James?
Suggest?
That motion is fine if we can just add the words pursuant to comment from the Transportation Working Group.
First.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
First.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But it'll have to be quick though, so yeah.
I don't think, was there a timeline on it?
Is there a timeline on this?
I didn't think there was. Harry?
I have no idea. Okay, I have no idea. I was under the impression we had to get it back to them.
But I don't think it said when I listened to the thing that it had a timeline.
There are staff there that could
Hold on.
comment.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Councillor Taddison, do you know?
I just think there's staff there that could comment about the timing. I think when we made this motion, it was to refer back for comment from ACPD. I would like to see it go to the working group for transit. Yeah. That was my initial kind of premise before it. So I think James has got it and Tim's got the right idea here from what the intent was. And I think I'm not sure if Michelle from staff could comment about when they need it back.
No, I can't comment as I was not the author of that report, but I can take the question back to my colleague, Nancy Purser, and provide that information to the working group, certainly.
Okay, so we'll amend it to say with consultation with the Transportation Working Group.
Okay. Okay. So can I have a vote then on the motion as amended, please?
Yep.
All in favor?
We are.
Everybody in favor?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. None against? Nope. Motion carried, James.
Thank you. So do we have to still, there's one extra motion we didn't finish here.
Which
we still have to receive the report.
Oh,
so can I please have a
yes.
mover and a seconder to receive the report from information? Moved by Councillor Taddison, seconded by Kara. Thank you. So is anyone opposed to receiving this report? I'm seeing none. That's carried. So we're moving on to 7.2, Multi-Year Accessibility Plan Status Report 2023. Jessica Bowen, Manager, Diversity Inclusion, is available to provide an overview of the 2023 Multi-Year Accessibility Plan Status Report. Jessica.
Okay. Just give me a second to get my PowerPoint up. All right. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Stop your subtitles for a second. Okay, so I am, for those of you that I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, I'm Jessica Bowen, the Manager of Diversity and Inclusion. I'm going to share with you today the annual status report update from 2023. This has been delayed in getting this to this committee partially because of the cybersecurity incident. So you're going to see 2023 and 2024 in the same year. In the agenda, you were sent out the full report, which is about 50 pages long. I'm not going to go through the entire report. I have pulled out the highlights from 2023 so that I'm able to share what was new in terms of what was reported back through our office. So I'll share that with the group, and there'll be an opportunity to have a further conversation once I've gotten through the material. But the way that the annual status report is set up is in alignment with our multi-year accessibility plan, which has 6 strategic goals. So I'm going to go through those strategic goals just at a high level because they inform the rest of the presentation and the information that I'm going to share. The strategic goals, for the most part, align with the 5 standards. I know there's 6 strategic goals, but it aligns with the 5 standards under AODA's Integrated Accessibility Standard Regulation. So the first strategic goal is related to customer service, so ensuring that people with disabilities receive equitable, inclusive, and accessible customer service that meets their needs when they're accessing any of our services, programs, resources, and opportunities. The second strategic goal is ensuring that people with disabilities who are potential employees are accommodated throughout the recruitment process and supported throughout the recruitment process, the assessment, selection, and hiring process, and as they advance in the organization when they become City of Hamilton employees. So I'll speak a little bit more about that. The third strategic goal is about information and communication. So ensuring that any information and communication and corresponding supports, including the city's websites and self-service kiosks, are fully accessible, and that the information that we're sharing, whether that's with staff or with members of the public, is available in accessible formats upon request. Strategic goal 4 is related to accessing barrier-free services and programs when using Hamilton Street Railway, so HSR, and accessible transit services, so ATS, including DARTs. So this strategic goal 4 is really about access to transportation, conventional and specialized. And then there's a couple of other requirements in there that I'm going to go through at a really high level. The 5th strategic goal is related to ensuring that our facilities and some of our outdoor spaces are fully accessible and meet the needs of people with disabilities when they're accessing our programs and services and any of the resources that we provide. And then the 6th goal is related to training. And specifically, just to make sure that staff have the information that they need and the education that they need to recognize and identify barriers to accessibility when they're designing, planning, delivering, and implementing services, programs, and opportunities to the public, as well as when we're procuring or acquiring goods, services, and facilities. So in the first part of the larger report, it focuses on the highlights, like ACPD's highlights. So that's what the slide that's up right now is showing. So just at a high level, and I pulled out some of the highlights. You know, because you're the ones that did the highlights. You did all of the activities. But in 2023, there were 15 motions that were made to council. There were 22 presentations received. So you received presentations and or consulted with staff on 22 issues. There were 4 delegations and or ACPD representation at external events and 17 engagements on accessibility initiatives. So the next slide just highlights a couple of those, the highlights from the committee. So highlighting again the accessibility fair, which the second annual accessibility fair, and some of the sort of features within that event, including the Steel City Wheelers, the wheelchair square dancing, HSR and DARTs vehicles on site, mobility device chair wash, and the haptic book station. Engaged in a site visit with the City of Hamilton LRT staff to review the LRT system in Waterloo and provide that feedback back to LRT staff and to Metrolinx about the accessibility barriers that were experienced. The committee prepared a report and delegated to council regarding inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. So IDEA, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later, and the creation of the website that was referenced earlier in the meeting, but the ACPD website for the committee. So that's just a summary of some of the highlights. There's much more within the report itself, but just wanted to pull that or kind of draw that out for those of you who are here. And so as we go on to strategic goal 1, which is related primarily to customer service, in kind of the next slides that follow, I'm going to highlight some of the requirements that fall under the strategic goals and under like the customer service standard. I'm not going to go through each requirement one by one, but just want to highlight for the committee some of the requirements that are included. So given the type of organization that we are, so we have requirements for accessibility policies, for an accessibility plan. We have requirements to have a feedback process in place. There are multiple feedback processes in place at the city. We have requirements for temporary service disruptions. So when we do have a service that is disruptive, that we have ways to communicate that out to the public. And we also have procurement requirements under this section as well. So just some highlights under this goal itself. What's on the slide right now is related specifically to recreation. So there were some policy updates that happened in 2023 related to, so on the slide, there's 3 bullet points. It highlights their behavior management and inclusion procedures for staff responding to mental health crisis or concerns, behavior management, caregiver acknowledgement with new procedures, and that was related to their day camps, and then updates to their policy on considerations for swimming admission for those living with external fixator device, catheters, feeding tubes, oxygen tanks, or casts. So that's out of our recreation division, some of the new content, which you might be aware of through human resources. So we, in Q4 2022, so just at the end of the 2022 year, the city engaged in a rebranding activity to shift from what we were previously calling equity, diversity, and inclusion. So that was our EDI portfolio and our EDI framework. We shifted the focus with the support of ACPD from EDI to IDEA. So inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. So in 2023, we took the opportunity to continue highlighting the importance of accessibility, and partially why we had shifted the language, or that the language and branding from EDI to IDEA was based on some of the data that we had collected, that we've been collecting over the years under our employment equity program. And so we knew in response to that we had a quite a big opportunity to increase accessibility at the city and promote employment for people with disabilities. And so one of the things that we did starting in 2023 was we reassigned the manager of diversity and inclusion position to an interim senior project manager of accessibility. And so the opportunity to do that provided the city with a dedicated resource to support workplace accommodations. It allowed us to engage with local agencies and educational institutions, provided a higher level of focus on AODA accessibility and compliance issue identification. So in 2023, on the slide that's up right now, you'll see there was the assignment of that temporary position of the SPM of accessibility. There was increased participation, kind of new engagement with the Hamilton Disability Employment Network, which is also known as HDEN. There was a higher focus on digital accessibility, including the development of resources for staff and accessible document training. We continued ongoing partnerships with the Canadian National Institute for the Blind and Ready, Willing, and Able. We supported work placements for students with disabilities from Mohawk College and through Project Search. In partnership with Recreation, we also supported the Treat Accessibly initiative in 2023. So that allowed us to, if any of you are familiar with that particular initiative, we had the lawn signs that were in place in 10 rec centers across the city. And so that was one of those kind of positive stories that we were able to share as well. And we continued to share job opportunities with CNIB, Ready, Willing, and Able, and the Canadian Hearing Society to try to increase representation of people with disabilities as applicants and coming into the organization. We created an internal accessibility committee and moved forward on conducting an organizational gap analysis related to AODA. So there were a lot of kind of human resources pieces that happened with the assignment of the SPM of accessibility. And then you'll see on this next slide that's up right now, the city has a number of policies related to accessibility that are supporting accessible customer service. We also have individual departments that also have accessibility related policies. So I've just highlighted here, we have accessibility related policies within our Ontario Works department, within recreation, some of which I highlighted on the previous slide, as well as HSR. And then I will highlight under that customer service piece, heritage resource management, they were able to put in place specialized tours and times for visitors with sensory sensitivities. So if any of you saw that, the Steam Museum, I'm not going to get that right, you can correct me later, but there were sensory friendly opportunities for individuals that may not be able to access under kind of standard conditions. There were renovations that took place for the Tourism Hamilton Visitor Experience Center, and accessible viewing areas were put in place in 2022 and the years that followed 2022 and 2023 for the CP Holiday Train event. Recreation provided public and community access to their Snoozland rooms. So the Snoozland Nook and Sensory Space at Westmount Recreation Center, which was something that wasn't previously kind of available to the public as far as I'm aware. And they also engaged in partnering with Autism Ontario to host opportunities for families with children on the autism spectrum to join a monthly family swim and gym at the Huntington Recreation Center. So I will sort of just say here, some of the content that I'm sharing with you is not necessarily like an AODA requirement, but is intended to highlight some of the other work that's happening at the city and has been happening that's not necessarily covered by the legislation or required by the legislation. And the next two slides, I won't read off every project on the next two slides, but through our facilities folks, there were a number of projects that were completed or underway in 2023 that had accessibility related components. So you'll see between this slide and the next, there's probably about 12 projects at City of Hamilton office spaces, Riverdale Child Care Center, the Lister Block. There's a few City of Hamilton office spaces that are on that list. The Greenhouse, Valley Park Library, the Confederation Sports Park, and then it continues on to like Parkdale Pool, Carlisle Library, the William Connold Field House. Some of these projects came to the Built Environment Working Group. Some of them did not, but it just gives you an idea of the number of projects that were underway in sort of 2022 and 2023. And then the slide that's up right now is projects that are in progress that were scheduled. So one that had accessibility upgrades and that had a estimated completion date somewhere in the 2024 to 2025 timeframe. So that includes like the Hamilton Transit Maintenance and Storage Facility, Sir Wilfrid Laurier Recreation Gym Center Gymnasium Edition. I wish that was shorter sentences for this, shorter titles. The Stony Creek Municipal Center, Central Library 6-4 Information Technology Space, Brightside Park, Mount Hope Library. So those are some of the projects that were underway in 2024 and 2025. And when I come back with the 2024 update, I'll update on all of those as well. So that's some of the highlights that came out related to customer service, multi-year accessibility planning, and just some of the overall initiatives that were happening in the city over 2022 and 2023. The next slide that's up is the second strategic goal, which is specifically related to employment. So some of the requirements under this section, it's all related to the recruitment process. So there are requirements for the city related to the recruitment, assessment, and selection process, notification to successful applicants, informing employees of supports, accessible formats and communication supports, workplace emergency response information, documented accommodation plans, and then there's more content related to career development and advancement as well. So from a human resources perspective, we have a number of policies and procedures that are in place to accommodate and support candidates throughout the recruitment process. Employees and the public are notified about the accommodation process and the city's commitment to a barrier-free, accessible recruitment process. And they're notified, individuals who are engaged in the process are notified through each kind of step of the recruitment process. So we have language that's included on our website, like on our careers page. We have accommodation language that's included in each job posting. We advise candidates during the selection process and when an offer is extended to them that if they have an accommodation, they just need to make that request. And we continue to outline at each step along the way our commitment to an inclusive and barrier-free process. We provide accommodations on an individualized basis. So while we are taking steps and have taken steps to make the process itself as barrier-free as possible, there's always, we always have we know we always have the opportunity and the ability to accommodate people if they do encounter a barrier in our process or if they need something that maybe we don't typically offer. So we always go through that process with them on a case-by-case basis and on an individualized basis to make sure that we can meet the individual's needs. And in 2023 as well, we reviewed and updated our recruitment and selection policy with a focus on embedding IDEA into the policy itself. So this resulted in an enhanced recruitment and selection policy and a creation of a separate procedure to go along with that policy as well.
Jessica, if you could wrap this up in about 5 minutes, you're running a little long. That'd be appreciated.
Okay, I will.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So because you have the report, you have all of the content. I'm not sharing anything new in the slide deck that's not in the report that was shared with the committee earlier. So in terms of just those highlights from an information and communication perspective, there are certain requirements that we have, and we're meeting all of those requirements in different forms. So you'll see information and communication has those self-serve kiosk. It's got information about emergency procedures plans or public safety information, making sure that we're providing people with accessible formats and communication supports when a request is made. And our website and web content has certain requirements that it needs to meet. I won't go under the highlights of this one, but there are a number of things that are happening under information and communication. I know the website is always a topic of conversation, so happy to answer any questions there that people may have. And I will just highlight from a website accessibility perspective, our website has certain benchmarks. It's monitored on an ongoing basis. We have a 90% overall accessibility compliance rating, which is up from previous years of 67% on the previous website that we had. And we continue to work to make sure that we, as much as possible, that we can make sure that the website is compliant. Under transportation, again, you'll have the slide deck. The highlights of the transportation piece are included in the slide deck as well. And the two things in here I'll just bring your attention to. This slide that's up right now talks about the compliance stops that were constructed in 2023 and kind of that goal from a transit perspective of how many bus stops will be compliant at the end of 2023 and the locations for the years 2025 to 2029, what's kind of projected to be compliant or on the slate to become compliant. And from a design of public spaces perspective, so that's in relation to strategic goal 5, the next few slides are just highlighting the areas where we had something new or renovated or newly constructed and what that looks like from an accessibility perspective. So there's a couple slides there, also highlights where we installed accessible audible pedestrian signals and at which locations, where we included accessible parking in locations across the city. Outdoor play spaces, it's just going to highlight within the slide deck and within the report itself the different elements that are included in outdoor play spaces and where we replaced those outdoor play spaces, so any of those structures. So one of the slides is just going to highlight the 11 places that we had new play spaces constructed. And then just really quickly, the last goal is just on training. So we have accessibility training that's required, like it's corporate training that's required for all city staff. It's shared on our LMS system. So we've got customer service standard training related to the human rights code. And then there's also department specific training with accessibility components in it. So on the slide there, it just highlights customer service, behavior management and inclusion procedures, and training for inclusion facilitators on lift transfers and personal care. So hopefully that's within your 5 minutes. There's more. Happy to answer any questions that there are, but.
Tim has a question.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, 7, okay. So Mark McNeil is first. Go ahead, Mark.
Yes, I noticed under ACPD highlights under bullet 3, it talked about ACPD delegation to council, and it seemed to talk about IDEA. Do you, I don't recall that motion ever being made by ACPD. Do you have any more details on that?
So my understanding, and so just full disclosure, the ACPD highlights list came from ACPD. So,
okay.
So my understanding is there was a motion made following when our team came in 2022 to ask for ACPD's endorsement to shift from EDI to IDEA. There was a motion that went forward after that point, and on IDEA, and my understanding at this point is that that's to include IDEA on council reports as standardized consideration.
I don't recall ACPD making that delegation, but I do recall making a delegation on behalf of AHA with respect to that. And it wasn't so much in related to the work that you've already done, or the extensive work you've already done, but in relation to delegations or presentations to ACPD that are not accurately reflected in the reports from staff to council. And I don't know if that would cover this topic or if it's something different. I haven't heard anything back on that presentation that I made in the fall of that year, which was following it was about 6 or 8 months following your presentation. Specifically, it was because we had presentations made to us, like, for example, one was the cargo e-bike, which we were opposed to, but the report to council said that we were opposed to it, but they didn't know why. And that was the exact quote. So that's why I made that presentation, to have IDEA concerns in any particular topic matter be referred to ACPD, and that subject matter or that meeting be accurately reflected in reports from council or from staff to council. So I don't know if this would fall under your IDEA gambit, because it seems to me it's more about internal and customer facing IDEA, which I would say looks really good.
Sorry, Mark, is there a question in there for Jessica?
Yeah, I was just asking if that's what it was, but maybe it should be directed to you because I didn't recall ACPD making that presentation.
As far as I understand, Mark, we supported it. I don't believe that we put forward anything other than that.
Okay, you mean you supported the AHA motion to council?
Oh, no, we supported the presentation when it came to ACPD. We said that we agree and we're in support of this. But that's as far as I'm
I thought
aware.
it said there was an ACP delegation under ACPD highlights.
I would have to look that up.
Okay, that's fine.
It's a couple of years ago.
Anyway, I don't have any, I didn't see any flaws in that report at all. It's pretty extensive and looked really good.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Next up is Leaf.
So I have a two-part question. One, the first part is recruiting, and I'm wondering about the report if there's anything specific that can be addressed about testing, because I know that some positions within the city of Hamilton do have testing for as part of the applications process, and I'm wondering how the report can have testing be supported to ensure that accessibility is met, along with what accommodations could be provided during the testing phase of the application. And my second question I have is for particularly on the training part of the report. I'm wondering about particularly about the accessibility, about like how frequent would the training be, and also after they get the job as well, how often would the training be reinforced? Because I know from my knowledge, particularly with LMS, there has to be a reinforcement of training in order to show that there could be considerations for accessibility needs, is that as long as the training is reinforced, that we can ensure that we could be able to meet accessibility needs.
So there's you have I think there's a few questions in there. I think I'm going to address the first, like your first question about the testing and accommodation, like accommodation related, I'm about to say accommodation related accommodations, but that's not what I mean. We have, so for some of the positions of the city, there is testing that's a requirement as part of the assessment process. If somebody enters into that testing and they encounter an accessibility barrier, we would work with that individual to understand what is the barrier that they're experiencing and what can we do, what can we do on our side to make that test more accessible, right? So for some people, that could be extra time. For some people, it might be like somebody needing the questions read verbally as opposed to them reading them themselves. It just depends on the individual. So it's really hard when you're saying what you're asking the question about what accommodations can be provided. We always work with the individual to understand what's the barrier that they're experiencing, and they are in the best position to tell us how we could best accommodate them. So that's the first question that we would ask, is what is the barrier that they're experiencing and what's the best way that we can support you? And then we would work with them to determine an accommodation so that they can continue with the recruitment and assessment process similar to any other candidate.
Thank you for addressing that part, as that was what was on my mind during the initial presentation.
Okay, so that's the first question. And then the second question that you had is in relation to training and that frequency of training. So the training that we have on the LMS, people are required to do it once, and it's always done at the point of onboarding. It is always available for staff to do the training again if they want to. And we also offer, and over the last couple of years, us as staff have offered different types of accessibility related training to employees. So just to give you an example, we have like the standard training that all employees are required to take. But right now we're running monthly lunch and learn sessions on digital accessibility. We have upcoming sessions. So just as an example, we've done accessibility related trainings on social media, like having accessible social media posts. We've done accessible Word document training, PDF training, and different types of PowerPoint, like all of the kind of main digital accessibility topics, and we're going to continue to do that over the year. We're also, for National Accessibility Week, doing some very like just a bit of diverse accessibility training. So like an Accessibility 101, we're going to have CNIB come in to talk about assistive technologies and how people use assistive technologies and what staff need to be aware of. So we're always finding those opportunities to do the core, like corporate training, but also other opportunities to do training on building accessibility and disability awareness across the organization.
Thank you for addressing those questions.
Thanks, Leif. If you're finished, yeah. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I skipped Kim the first time around. I apologize. So Kim.
It's Tim.
Oh, it's Tim, sorry.
Okay, thank you. I just have a couple of questions. So I haven't had time enough to digest everything in this report that I'd really like to digest. Is it possible, Jessica, to be able to come back to maybe the next meeting where maybe myself or even others on the committee might have more time to digest, to formulate a more comprehensive discussion? That's my first question.
So yes, if you want me to come back, just like extend the invite and I'll come back whenever you need me to come back.
Okay, thank you. Second question. With reference to the website specifically, I don't know how the 90% efficiency rating is determined, but I can tell you that I have a great deal of difficulty using the website. I avoid it at all cost. Most recently, I tried to complete a survey on the Engage Hamilton website. The survey was completely inaccessible. There was discussion, email discussion with Stephanie from bylaw around that, and even an opportunity to speak with somebody from the website development team on the accessibility of the website. I offered to consult with folks, and then the conversation via email just went cold. There was no reply, no response, no preliminary dates, anything set up to consult with staff on the website. And the taxi bylaw survey that was supposedly supposed to be out there for people to respond to, I never even got to respond to it, particularly related to questions related to accessible taxis. So, you know, any data that the city might be putting forward in the future, I mean, that data is inaccurate. And you know, people with disabilities didn't even have an opportunity to provide responses on a survey that was related to accessibility. So I don't know if you can speak to the website or what we can do to try to build a more accessible website.
So I'll share two things. One being, we do use Site Improve as our, like, that is our monitoring, like it is the program that monitors our website against like AODA WCAG requirements. So that's how we know where our compliance rating is at, because we get an update on a weekly basis, which shows, and we are one of many municipalities that actually uses Site Improve as our benchmark and as our monitoring tool. I will also share, though, there is as you know, most people that know me know that I will say this, like compliance is one thing, accessibility is different. And so if you are experiencing difficulties accessing the website, and to your point, if you're having difficulty completing a survey about accessible transportation or accessible anything, and the documents aren't accessible for people with disabilities, we also have an obligation, both on the website front, but to provide that access to that service or that questionnaire or whatever we're doing in another format, in a format that you can use. So I would be interested to understand, maybe that's a conversation you and I can have, just about what the conversation looked like with city staff, and maybe we can get some more information for you and get that feedback to the right folks so they can understand the barrier that you experienced and how we might eliminate that for people in the future.
Okay, thank you. In this particular instance, that feedback was given to the right staff, and then the staff just stopped communicating. They just went cold. So it wasn't me who had the problem conveying the problem. All of that was done, and then just staff just disappeared. So, but that said, the other question I have, and I'm sure I would have a lot more, is there ever an opportunity to provide to ACPD data, if you have it, on the hiring process? I mean, I don't know how we determine whether or not the initiatives undertaken in the whole employment accommodation process, whether it be accommodation at the application phase or accommodation in the employment phase. But I would think that numbers would indicate whether or not what the success rate is of the city in the whole employment process. Is there ever a time where ACPD could be provided some of that data? I'm presuming the city has it or collects it, so that we can look at the success rate through the data summary and then be able to make any potential recommendations.
So we do collect data both from our applicant pool and from our existing workforce. So we do have the data, and we have the data in comparison to labor market availability. So within, like, at the Hamilton level and also at like Canadian level, so through Stats Canada. So that is something that we can bring back to the committee. It's publicly available as well. So just because of cybersecurity, the cyber incident, we didn't report out last year, but we did report out in 2023. So there is an annual report out of our IDEA team that went to council that outlines what our applicant pool was, what that number was or percentage was in comparison to other benchmarks like labor market availability in Hamilton and across Canada. So that's definitely something that we can bring back. We are also in the process of, we're going to be doing a project with HDN on our recruitment process as well. So we have the data, but we're also looking to partner with some community organizations to understand barriers that we may not know are barriers right now in the process. So that will include all those different stages, right? So from the application process all the way up to interview and hiring. So happy to bring that data as well. And if you want me to bring it to the next meeting when I come back, I can at minimum bring the 2023 content and share that in advance so that you can have a look at the data.
Great. I think that would be very helpful. And final question. We know that there is a customer service standard under the AODA. There is also a Canadian Standards Association customer service standard. It's a little outdated, but So I'm just wondering, does the city ever review the CSA standard for customer service and compare its practices to CSA standards?
So right now, like our focus is on compliance with the provincial legislation. I think there is I think not just for the city of Hamilton, I think just across from an accessibility perspective, there is a lot of value in comparing not just to CSA, but to ACA, right? Like the Accessible Canada Act, because that act came out much later than our provincial one did. And I think there's probably likely some opportunity to align with a higher standard. We're not there yet though. So,
Okay.
but there is an opportunity there to kind of look at, because that ACA also has additional standards that they're not covered, or at least are not yet talked about under AODA, that I think we can take guidance from, including things like plain language. So there is a big opportunity there to just align with what's happening at the federal level to make sure that we're striving to be as accessible as possible.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Tim, and next up is Paula.
Hi, Jess. I just want to say, Tim and I had the same problem with that survey. I always have a problem with Engage Hamilton. I've complained so many times that, you get to the point where you get fed up with complaining and you just don't fill out the surveys. So we did have staff, or we had the people from IT, and as Tim said, we sent them the feedback, but then they disappeared. So I just wanted to tell you that I had the same problem. And also, probably not in your billywhack, but the embosser that they have in the print room either is never working, nobody has time to braille anything, or when they do braille it, it's impossible to read. So I don't know whether that's part of your job.
So two things. I'll just share for both you and Tim. If you want to share with me that conversation that you had, like, if there's any way I can follow up, that's all I'm going to say. I'm happy to follow up to see what we might be able to do to ensure that some of those forums or engagement opportunities that follow, that you have the opportunity to participate. We do have an obligation to ensure that you can participate. So appreciate there are concerns about the website and the forums, but if you're able to share it with me, I'm happy to see what I can do to follow up on that. While I don't have oversight of the embosser, that's the first time hearing that you're having issues with it. So again, like I'm happy to help, because if we don't have the ability to do it internally, then we need to find a way to get you what you need so that you can have the materials to participate in whatever we're doing, whether that's meetings or otherwise.
Well, see, yes, and I do say Kerry does try and get it for me, and sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. So in the end, I bought my own, and that cost over $4,000. So I have a way of doing it, but if anybody else was to ask for anything in Braille, I don't know how you guys would do it. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Is there any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Paula, can you take over for me?
Yes, sir. I will take the chair.
Thank you. Okay, like Tim and Paula were just mentioning, I flagged page 29, SurveyMonkey app platform enables its customers to create an experience for applicants that is compliant with Section 508 and WCAG 2.0. I know from personal experience, and I don't have the issues that Paula and Tim have, that SurveyMonkey is not accessible. It's a very difficult program to use. I'm always going back to get staff to fix my account in some way, shape, or form. I've used it for various different things, surveys for the enrichment fund. It's been problematic across the board. So I just wanted to flag, this isn't a question, I'm just flagging that as well as the SurveyMonkey app is the problem. Moving on to strategic goal number 4, the City of Hamilton is committed to ensuring that persons with disabilities access barrier-free service and programs when using Hamilton Street Railway and the accessible transit system, including DARTs. In this report, it's pointing out what the standards are and what the city's responsibility is, but does it report on, is it effective? Are there more barriers being created, less barriers being created?
So that's, I mean, it's not the purpose of the annual report. I recognize there's feedback about some of the things that are happening with transit that it wouldn't necessarily be captured in the report, because the report really is about the requirements and what we're doing to comply. But that, I mean, that doesn't prevent anybody from having the conversation about what we do next with some of the concerns that have been raised, but it wouldn't necessarily be captured in the report per se.
Well, thank you. I point this out because 2023 is when the HSR went to a front door access only, which created a number of barriers for us, which should be reflected somewhere in a report. Moving on, again, I'm still in section 4, section 39, transition existing contracts. It mentions 20 60-foot new flyer buses and 93 39 40-foot Nova buses were purchased. It goes on to say that that there was no changes to the personal mobility devices location, and there was a minor layout change for button and grab bars. I can tell you from personal experience from the 2023 year, there was more changes than that. For example, half of the 40-foot Nova buses that we got in 2023 are different than the other half. The seating, actual seating assembly changed. Button placement moved up midway to make it accessible, because previously in the 2022-2023 there was inaccessible. I'm just giving you some examples. The back pad shifted. So these are changes that should be reflected in this report, as opposed to just saying some grab bars removed, correct?
Yeah, and in fairness, I collect the information. I don't necessarily question what's provided to me, but if the feedback is from this group right now, there are more changes, that's something that I can go back to HSR to have a conversation with them and at least provide more detail back to the committee, or adjust the report based on that feedback.
Okay, thank you. Because especially the yellow strips, which are mentioned here, the touch tape as it's called, has been put in some inaccessible positions, both in 2022 and 2023. Which should be reflected as well. So I wanted to flag some of those issues. I will add them to you or send them to you. And I just want to double check that I have nothing else. Oh yes, okay. One last thing. At least I hope it's one last thing. Yeah, one last thing. 79, duties of municipalities, accessible taxi cab. Bylaw staff meets with advisory committee for persons with disabilities regarding accessible taxi cab service on an as requested basis. I wanted to flag this particular issue because the bylaw office has paused and restarted the accessible taxi financial incentive program several times over the years. We never know when that happens. We don't get informed of these sorts of things that affect the ridership of people with disabilities. Is there I know that the Schedule 25 is up for review. Is there a way that we can be more involved with bylaw on this program?
So I can make that request to bylaw. If it's the will of the committee to have bylaw either come and talk about the program, or have a conversation about how they can engage the committee more so than they currently do, like that's a request that can be made of them.
Okay, excellent. And I do have one more thing. Sorry, Paula. Exterior passive travel, 80.21. an issue that turned up in 2023 was sidewalk bypasses. And some of those issues should be reflected here as you've got, replaced sidewalks and whatnot. This was a major issue as well for some of us. So just wanted to flag that for your attention as well.
Okay, no, I appreciate that as well. So leave that piece with me, and thank you for flagging it.
Okay, thank you. I'll take back the chair, Paula.
You may have the chair, sir.
Perfect, thank you. Are there any other questions for Jessica before we move on?
Yeah, Tim here. Can I just make one further comment?
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, just further to James' point about the taxi bylaw. There's an AODA regulation that requires that the city consult the advisory committee on the number of accessible taxi cabs. So if the bylaw department has responsibility for the number of accessible taxi cabs, and they are planning to make any changes, the regulation requires that they consult us. And if they're not consulting us, then the city is not in compliance with the AODA. So just wanted to point that out. I don't remember what regulation number it is, but I think it's been the 70s or 80s in the AODA regs.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So we'll flag that for review?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. So unless there's anybody else, I would like a mover and a seconder to receive the report for information.
I'll move, Kim.
Moved by Kim, seconded by Paula. Thank you. Is there anybody opposed to receiving the information? I'm seeing none, and that is carried. Thank you very much, Jessica. I look forward to seeing you again. Oh, wait, no, 7.3, we're going to see you next. Accessibility for entertainment in the city. Jessica Boa, Manager, Diversity and Inclusion, has a verbal update respecting this item.
Good.
That's right. I'm like, I forgot because I'm here. So on that item, so just as an update to the committee, following, I think, the January, February meeting when this topic came up, we do have an individual who is from the, has oversight of the projects, like the Hamilton Convention Center, and the other one that it always escapes me, but there's 2 sites, and he is coming to the Built Environment Working Group meeting in June, or is scheduled to come in June, as long as the agenda permits, to talk about those projects. There were questions that were sent out to the committee in order to help him best prepare to have the conversation. So he had a few questions that I sent out to the committee. So if you didn't have an opportunity to see those questions, happy to reshare them if you wanted to give feedback within the next 2 weeks, if you had specific questions about the project.
And I guess we don't have any say over the new Cops Coliseum, the new First Ontario Center.
Yeah, I mean, that
renovations?
renovation is fully underway, right, for First Ontario. And I believe, just based on where they're at, they're nearing completion of the project.
Yeah.
We can get somebody, so the individual that is coming is not talking about First Ontario, but we can reach out to representatives from First Ontario who can come and talk about the accessibility components of that project.
Right. And the other one you mean is the concert hall.
Yeah, the convention center and the concert hall, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I did respond to some of those questions, Kim, but you actually had some specific concerns, so I'm going to make sure you get those questions again. If you could please send them back, that would be great.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on the entertainment side of this? And again, Jessica, we would love to speak to the other people from First Ontario Center if they're available at any time.
I'll reach out and see if I can get a representative to come in and talk.
Very much. So if there's nothing else, can I please have a mover and a seconder to receive the information? Moved by Paula, seconded by? Anybody? Levi. Thank you. Is there anybody opposed to the receiving the information? I'm seeing none, so that is carried. Thank you very much. Again, thank you again, Jessica. I'll see you soon.
Thanks.
7.4 was withdrawn. 7.5, Accessible Transportation Services 2024 Cumulative Performance Review. Michelle Martin, Manager of Accessible Transportation Services, is available to provide a presentation respecting this item.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm just going to get my screen sharing here. Sorry, I've got other little windows in the way. No, cancel that. There. Is that sharing?
No.
Okay, I'll try that. Share, share.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Okay, perfect. So this report is a cumulative report dating back to 2019, all the annual numbers from 2019 to 2024. This is a change. As discussed last time, we were going to move to an annual report. And this change in timeline was brought to the ACPD, was brought to Public Works Committee. So the quarterly report now goes to the Transportation Working Group and is reviewed there. And then those numbers are provided as part of the Transportation Working Group notes for the subsequent ACPD agenda. And this report now comes to the ACPD as an annual report and then subsequently to the Public Works Committee. So I'll just take you through the 6 or so slides I have to give you a high-level overview of some key stats. The report, as you know, is quite extensive. And then I'll be pleased to take questions afterward. So figure 1 shows system demand by mode. It looks at the shared ride service, which is delivered by the contractor DARTS, versus taxi script trips. From 2019 to 2024, you can see that the proportion of trips delivered by the shared ride service, which is the blue portion in the bottom of each bar, is the vast majority of trips requested on the service. The gold portion at the top of each bar shows the portion of taxi script trips requested. The proportion requested by taxi scripts has decreased by more than half since 2019, and the numbers that back that up are found in Table 1 and Table 2 of the report. Figure 2 shows the proportion of trips denied, trips canceled, and trips delivered across 2019 to 2024. The gold line at the top of the graph in the figure shows that the rate of requested trips that are delivered has dropped from 79% in 2019 to 71% in 2024. Though the rate of denied trips is still well below 5%, and the denied trips are tracked by the green line at the bottom of the graph, it has still almost doubled from 1.2% in 2019 to 2.1% in 2024. The rate of all passenger cancellations has also increased from about 22% in 2019 to 28% in 2024, and that's shown by the dark blue line in the middle of the graph, and that's referenced in tables 3, 4, and 5 of the report. And I showed all of these 3 lines together to indicate, to illustrate for everybody the impact that passenger cancellation also has on the overall rate of trips delivered, because that question came up the last time I provided quarterly statistics. So I hope that's helpful, and if people want it presented differently or think it would be useful to have it presented differently, then please let me know. So figure 3 shows, just illustrates the relationship between the trips taken on the shared ride service versus applications received. And what this figure is illustrating is application trends versus system trip trends. So the blue line on the bottom shows the application trends, and the green line above it shows a similar trend for trips taken. So we're still at about 70% of pre-COVID numbers for trips taken and for applications received. Now, it's a little bit of a tricky graph because the system trip count, of course, is counted in the tens of thousands, and that scale is on the left side of the graph. The right side of the graph shows the application count, and that is counted in hundreds. But if you calculate what's called a correlation statistic for the relationship between the two sets of numbers, it comes out at about 0.9, which is almost perfectly correlated. So it really does tell us quite a bit about the trip projections when we know the number of applications we're going to be receiving. If you want to look at the numbers for that in the report, it is in Table 6. Figure 4 shows contractor calls answered within 5 minutes. And it shows the trend across 2023 and 2024. I didn't have numbers earlier than 2023. I could ask for them, but I do know that they changed call system software in 2023. So we can do that at another time. If there is interest from the committee, we can do that. So call center service trends across 2023 showed some improvement. That's the blue line on the bottom. And started off 2024 doing much better. There's a little bit of a dip, Q2 and Q3, but by Q4 at the end of the year, we're back up to almost 70% of calls answered within 5 minutes, which is quite a bit better than just above 60% at the end of 2023. Figure 5 shows DART's on-time performance, and it compares on-time performance from 2019 to 2024 against two standards. The green line in the middle of the graph is the minimum standard of 95%. The gold line at the top of the graph, the straight gold line, is the industry best practice of 99%. And the blue line that dips above and a little bit below and then approaches it again, approaches the industry best practice again by the end of 2024, is DART's on-time performance. So on-time performance did dip below 98% in 2023. We know this from our review of those quarterly reports throughout 2023. But it has recovered in 2024, but it has not yet recovered to earlier years. In earlier years, it met or exceeded 99%. Figure 6 presents complaints and commendations per 1,000 DARTS trips. These are tracked from 2019 to 2023. We saw quite a bit of an increase in 2021, 2022, 2023, and then decreased down again in 2024. Those are the blue bars on the left side of each cluster. Those are the complaints. The green bars on the right side of each cluster represent commendations per 1,000 trips. The gold line across shows what the industry best practice is for both complaints and commendations. The industry best practice for complaints is 1 complaint per 1,000 trips, and for commendations, it is at least 1 commendation per 1,000 trips. So the complaints, again, they increased up to 2023, have decreased again in 2024, but not quite back to even 2021 levels. They are still slightly above 3 complaints per 1,000 trips. Commendations ended in 2024 at 0.5, slightly less than half the 2023 rate and below the industry best practice, but they are above the industry average as quoted in the 2016 Canadian Urban Transit Association report. And that information is in Table 9 and Table 11 of the report. And that concludes my brief presentation. I'll be pleased to take your questions on the report.
Questions on the report? Oh, sorry, my microphone. There we go. Is there any questions on the report? I see Tim's hand waving in the corner there. Tim. You're muted again. Having some trouble, Tim?
Yeah, there.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry.
Yeah. For some reason or other, Kim we're on our iPad because we had a problem trying to log in via my computer. But the system somehow mutes during presentations. And when that happens, A, I can't see the button on the iPad, and B, Kim has difficulty trying to.
Yeah, my stylus is slippery.
Okay.
You know, there's an accessibility in the system. So that said, I don't know, Michelle, I don't know if you made the change to the report so that the service hours and the mileage numbers were flipped.
Through the chair, thanks for that, Tim. Yes, they were incorrectly labeled in the text-only version. They were correct in the tables in the report that was posted to the agenda. And so I did send the amended text-only version to Carrie, and I thank you very much for letting me know about that.
Yeah, okay. Just one, that's my only question or comment for the moment.
Okay, is there any other comments or questions? I'm seeing none. Paula, can you take over for a minute? Not working? Okay, Kara, can you take over?
There you go.
Oh, no, never mind. Paula got it. Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
It
Okay.
slips sometimes.
It's okay. The taxi scripts, as we were talking in TWG, it went down in 2022. This may be outside of your purview, but I'm wondering if 2022 is when prices went up on taxis. I do know it was in the last few years.
Through the chair, I'm not certain, but I can check into that. And that'd be interesting to take a look at. I do know that, do you remember when we, for a period of time, increased the discount to 60% on the scripts? We didn't see an increase in trip demand.
I can explain that.
Yeah.
Because you still only have 3 books. You can still only use it for so many trips per month. And my point being that they seemed very regular in the first few years beforehand at one level, and then it seems to be very regular at the new level, which it makes me wonder if it's because of a price change.
Right, and to your point, sure, I can take a look at that. Yeah.
Thank you. It's an offhand question. Is there an easier way to make commendations other than phoning? Because there's oftentimes I get, this isn't darts related, this is more HSR, but oftentimes I get an excellent driver that I think needs a commendation, but making that phone call and stuff, making that extra step. So I'll tell the driver, you did an excellent job. Thank you for the service. Is there some way that they can communicate that to the supervisor so that they would check the camera or whatever?
Well, we have to receive the commendations through customer care. So you're talking about HSR right now, right?
Yeah, I'm just using it as an example.
Generally, okay. So if you find it inconvenient to make a phone call, you can email hsrserve@hamilton.ca if that helps people. I don't believe there's a mechanism for receiving them by text. I think if you're interested in other options, I'll take that back to the manager of customer experience and innovation and see what they have, in terms of options there. But thanks for letting us know you want to call and conduct accommodations. Yeah.
Oftentimes, but a complaint is much easier to remember to do because you're angry about it. It's top of mind, but a commendation slips so quickly from the mind that just wonder if there's some way to do it in person. Okay, that's it. I'll take the chair back, Paula.
You have the chair, sir.
Thank you. Now, are there any other questions for Michelle before we move on? I'm seeing none. Okay. So then, can I get a mover and a seconder to receive the presentation and the report? Moved by Kara, seconded by?
Mark.
Mark, thank you. Is there any opposed to receiving the presentation and the report? I'm seeing none, so that is carried. Thank you very much, Michelle. In the interest of time, we are going to hear all of the items, information 7.6 to 7.11, and then receive them together at the end. I am going to relinquish the chair.
Space. Your control plus and
Yes,
background noise, so no one will hear a button.
Sorry. I don't have an agenda at the minute, so you'll have to just tell me what you're going to.
7.6 Built Environment Working Group.
Okay.
There should be an addendum of what we discussed just last week, but we did a snow clearing review with city staff regarding the 2024 snow season and also the HSR sidewalk combined snow removal, because we often find the difficulty between the two. That's built.
Okay. Next is
Housing Working Group 7.7.
Yep.
We discussed the point in time updates regarding people unhoused in the population. We also discussed a future review of the mental health report that came before council on the history of mental health in Hamilton, which there's some valuable information in that we want to focus in on. That'll be reviewed at the next meeting. We also discussed the CDB, Canada Disability Benefits, which work is still ongoing with the Roundtable for Poverty Reduction, Hamilton Community Legal Clinic, Strategic Planning Research Council, or Social Planning and Research Council. I think that's, yeah, Social Planning and Research Council, ACORN, and DJNO, I believe, was also involved.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's housing.
Thank you. Next is
Outreach.
Yeah, my laptop's dying and it wouldn't print anything for me, so.
Okay.
Sorry.
So Outreach Working Group, we went through, did some more accessibility fair planning. We discussed, for example, Camilla coming and presenting to us on her social media plan. We discussed different types of activities. I do have accessibility fair updates. We have now been approved by facilities. We have insurance to include dog guides. And public health approval. So we're almost finished our seat approval. And that's the update I have on that.
Thank you, James.
Oh, sorry, I have one more thing. We have the seniors kickoff coming up. Currently volunteering, I have Lance, Mark McNeil, and myself. There is space open for one more volunteer if anybody would like to join us.
I would, but I'm doing dumps.
So you'll be there.
I'll be there anyway. Yeah.
I can do it, but what day is it?
June 4th or 5th off the top of my head. I will have to narrow it down for you. June 4th, there we go.
And what's the time commitment?
It's, I believe, from 11 till 3 or 10 till 2, something like that. I think it's a 4-hour thing.
Yeah,
It's
I
4
can.
hours.
June the 4th?
Yep,
Yeah.
I will send you the message or the information then.
Okay,
And
thank
look
you.
forward to seeing you there.
Thank you.
And 7.9 is Strategic Planning Working Group.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So Strategic Planning Working Group, we discussed the upcoming Volunteer Advisory Committee transfer to community liaison groups. We also reviewed some history of the committee and how it worked in different departments over the past 20 years. Just because change might be in the wind. We also discussed accessibility of meetings and presentations, like with PowerPoint, and the possibility of ASL during council meetings. And I believe we also discussed wheelchair scooter breakdown plans, and we are going to try and continue on with that.
Forgot to send it to you, sorry.
And that's it. Okay.
You want the chair back, sir?
Oh, Mark?
Oh, Mark has a question, sorry.
You're muted, Mark.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask a question about the seniors event.
Yep.
I remember when I was there last year, they didn't have an accessible washroom available. So they said just to give them a shout ahead of time. And do you know who, can you tell me, or can Paula, can you give me contact information just so that I can give them a heads up again?
Oh, for the seniors thing?
Yeah, for the
Get in
kickoff.
touch with Lisa.
Lisa Maychak, yeah.
Maychak.
Maychak, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
As I recall, they took over the accessible washroom last year for the immunization drive.
And they fixed it pretty quickly, but
good.
Well, if you get a hold of Lisa, she's in charge of the seniors kickoff. So, yeah.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and if there's nothing else, I will take the chair.
You have the chair, sir.
Thank
so,
you. 7.10, Transportation Working Group Update. A, Accessible Transportation Services Summary of Transportation Working Group Meeting, January 28, 2025. And that's you, Paula.
Okay. If you want me to go over that one, I have no idea what was in it. I sent them all to Karen because I hadn't, apparently. They were in my outbox for some reason and never got sent. Anyway, I just say to everybody, just read everything that's in there. And if you have any questions for me, let's go over them all next time, okay? Because there's January's, February's, and April. Because we didn't have one in March. So that's all I can say. I have brain fog right now. So, and then the next one was the policy review with Michelle, and we went through two policies. One was the wait list policy, and the other one was the subscription policy. We made suggestions to Michelle, and she was going to rewrite the policies and bring them back. Right, Michelle?
Michelle?
Through the chair, yes, that's the goal. I think there's an intermediate step because some of the questions you had, I'll have to get those answers from the contractor, those specific scheduling answers back before I could apply them to policy. So a bit of a two-step on those policies.
Thank you, Michelle. And that's all I have to say today. Sorry.
I do have a question, Paula, or just something to flag. A, B, and C are only meeting notes of what happened when HSR or ATS was in, and whatever was discussed elsewise is not in these notes.
I realize that.
Okay.
That was my mistake, and it will be rectified.
Okay, thank you. And then there's the last one is Accessible Transportation Services Performance Report Q4. Do we have to go over that, or is that just to be added?
I think that's what we just went through.
Through the chair, the review takes place at Transportation Working Group. It's just provided
that's right.
to be added to the agenda in case of questions or concerns.
Perfect, thank you. 7.11, Open Spaces and Parklands Working Group update. Is there a verbal update? One minute.
It's terrible trying to find buttons on an iPad.
Okay, got it.
Good.
Okay, nothing to update. And if there's a way to prevent the mute from being done systematically at the clerk level, that would be great.
Everything's quiet here.
It's a real challenge from an accessibility point of view to mute and unmute.
I'm sorry. Okay, so may I have a mover and a seconder to receive item 7.6 to 7.11? Moved by Paula, seconded
Kim.
by Kim?
Yes.
Okay, is there any discussion on anything in the information? No, okay. So is there anybody opposed? I'm seeing none, that is all carried. Going on to 9, motions, 9.1, feasibility of the development of a new HSR fare program to assist disabled riders. Paula, please introduce your motion. Do you have a seconder on the motion?
Yes. I'm going to second. Kim.
By Kim. You're muted, Paula.
She's working on it.
All stays. Your
There.
control plus, and we're removing all.
It slides off the button sometimes. Anyway, it wouldn't do whatever. Anyway, Kim is going to second the motion. Harry, do you have the motion?
I do.
Because I don't have anything. I have nothing
Okay,
printed.
I'll read it out for you.
Thank you very much.
So it's moved by Paula, seconded by Kim. Feasibility of the development of a new HSR fare program to assist disabled riders. Whereas at the March 18th, 2025 meeting of the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities Committee received delegations from the Disability Justice Network of Ontario and the Accessibility Hamilton Alliance. Whereas the delegates expressed concern about gaps in the eligibility of disabled community members for existing transit programs related to bus fares. Whereas the Disability Justice Network of Ontario and the Accessibility Hamilton Alliance authored a report entitled Recommendation on Alternate Fare Program for Disabled Riders attached as Appendix A. Whereas the Transportation Working Group received a presentation from the Disability Justice Network of Ontario and the Accessibility Hamilton Alliance respecting the report at the April 22nd, 2025 Working Group meeting. Whereas the Disability Justice Network of Ontario and the Accessibility Hamilton Alliance recommend the development of a new HSR reduced fare program to assist disabled riders that would complement the existing fare assist program. And whereas the Transportation Working Group supports the recommendations by the Disability Justice Network of Ontario and Accessibility Hamilton Alliance respecting a complementary fare program. Therefore, be it resolved that the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities requests that Council direct staff to investigate and report back to the Public Works Committee by Q4 2025 on the feasibility of the development of a new HSR fare program to assist disabled riders that would complement the existing fare assist program as recommended by the Disability Justice Network of Ontario and the Accessibility Hamilton Alliance, and that the report back include consideration of the following recommendations from the Disability Justice Network of Ontario and the Accessibility Hamilton Alliance respecting their proposed complementary reduced fare program. I, access for persons with disabilities who live at or below the current low income measure, or I guess 2, that's Roman numerals, so I don't know, I always get that confused. Determining the need of persons with disabilities through broad consultation with persons with disabilities, including those living in residential institutions and secondary and post-secondary students, as well as organizations serving persons with disabilities such as Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities, and 3, offering a pilot program with specific start and end dates similar to the way in which the Fare Assist program was introduced.
Thank you, James.
Welcome.
Does anybody have any questions on this motion? Seeing none.
That's my daughter, isn't it? Yeah, I was going to say, wait a second. I think I have the chair.
I know you're supposed to say that, but you did.
Okay, so there's no
Sorry,
discussion.
I got my wrong hat on.
Is there anybody opposed to this motion? I am seeing none, so the motion is carried.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment? No.
Okay, quick one.
Very quick. I just want to thank the committee for supporting this recommendation. It's taken us almost a year to navigate this, which is far, far too long. So we should have been here probably last June or July on this matter. But I just want to say thank you to everybody. And if you have the opportunity, email your city councilor, email all of council, email the mayor, and let them know that you support this motion wholeheartedly, and even consider delegating as an individual to GIC when this motion gets there. So that said, I have a question for Carrie, if I may. So through you, Mr. Chair, to Carrie, do we know which GIC meeting this recommendation will go to, whether it will be
2 months,
the 1 and 2 weeks, or will it be 4 or 5 weeks out?
It will be the meeting in June.
Can you give us the date of June? Do you know?
Just let me look it up
Okay, thank you.
through the chair. Through the chair, Tim, the date is June 11th.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to general information. Is there any general information or other business anybody would like to bring up at this time?
I just have a quick question, if I may.
Go ahead, Tim.
Again, through you to Carrie. I've received in the last 24 hours about 3 or 4 notices of some initiatives coming under the National Access Awareness Week umbrella, as well as a couple of other things. I'd love to share them with committee for information and possible participation. What's the best way to do that? Can I send them to you to repost? Is that okay?
Tim, you can send them to me to circulate to the committee.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay, is there anything else? I'm not seeing anything else, so we will move on to adjournment. There being no further business, this meeting is now adjourned at
Look at Paula.
5:56. 5:56. All right, thank you very much, everybody. It was a good meeting. Appreciate the patience, and have yourself a good night.
Nate.
Thank you.
Thank you.